Welcome back to another episode of Have You Heard, the social media podcast brought to you by us, The Social Shepherd. I'm Jack, one of the co-founders here at The Social Shepherd, and I'm joined by Zoe Williams, our social media director here at The Social Shepherd. Today, we're going to be talking about content repurposing, the do's and don'ts, how to repurpose content, looking at different platforms. We know there's a lot of errors people make with this one, sometimes due to resource and time, and they're trying to get as much content as possible. But I guess if we start from the do's of cross-posting and how we should repurpose one piece of content to multiple platforms, what are some sort of key steps that people should always keep in mind?
Yeah, sure. So I think what's really, obviously we can't necessarily always control what comes over to us from a brand or a client. So I think it's almost like, what are those little things you can do to really try and enhance that content and make it work on social? So I think firstly, what you would look into is looking at that content and potentially making it shorter where appropriate for the social platforms. Obviously, we know that potentially some long form content doesn't work, and really trying to use in-app features where possible to try and get the optimal results for that content. So looking at in-text
fonts, colors.
Exactly. Looking at trending sounds, if you can add anything like to overlay it, any filters potentially that are trending on the platforms that you can maybe overlay as well onto that content to really make it social friendly.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we see mistakes when people may have edited it in CapCut or wherever, uploaded it to TikTok, downloaded that file, and then just gone for a straight upload to Instagram or Facebook or wherever.
Exactly. And we know that when you do kind of make those edits in app, it does perform better because the algorithm will favor it because you've used more in-app features. It's a really good test to do if you haven't done it for your clients either, to see if it does create an uplift in results. Here we have seen it on a lot of our clients that it does like give us that uplift that we want to see. So it's really important that if you can edit it in app to definitely do that as well.
Yeah, both for TikTok and Instagram, I guess, if you've got the time.
If you've got the time.
But like you said, you know, I think when we deliver content from ourselves, we will show a brand the sort of raw without any text. And also here's what the final thing will look like with all the appropriate fonts, colors taken from TikTok, and then the same again for Instagram. So we really sort of build that visual identity for those brands, but making sure it's still platform specific and not just negating one and just applying TikTok fonts and colors to Instagram as well. So in a dream world, when building a content strategy for a brand on social, obviously there is sometimes where we cross post, but still use in-platform features. But I guess when looking at a broader content strategy, not everything should be repurposed. How do you identify if something should be repurposed or shouldn't?
I think that ultimately comes down to what your client's objectives are and what they want to achieve on social channels. Obviously, we know that different social channels do different things. So obviously cross-post where appropriate and where that posting is relevant to what you're trying to achieve. I wouldn't always recommend cross-posting. Say if your client really wants to sell product, you're probably not going to be able to post those product images on Facebook, for example, because we know that Facebook's more of a community channel where you want to build and nurture that audience there. So I think it's looking at strategies and really where content aligns with what you want to achieve. I think it's really important to consider that at the early stages and have those conversations with your client and really educate them on what the platform's there for and what you're going to see in terms of results and why you wouldn't necessarily see content perform on certain channels. I think it is to do with that education and really just trying to get the client to understand like the value of every channel, and every channel has a different purpose. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know sometimes we come into the conversation as well, it is a resourcing or budget, because in a dream world, we'd be creating completely bespoke content probably for Facebook, same for Instagram, same for TikTok, as they all have their own nuances, differences, different reasons why people follow you on TikTok versus the fact that they do on Instagram. And same goes not only for what they're looking for, but the individual platform features that they will apply to that as well. What's one of your sort of pet hates when it comes to like video content, you know, if it's being delivered at a campaign basis by maybe a pure video production agency, and then they go, here you go, guys, go, you're the social agency.
I think my personal pet hate is when, I guess, firstly, I think it comes down to ultimately having those relationships with your client and really being there at that front of that conversation to be able to direct that content and where it's going to go and what it's going to do. Like we've discussed, I know it's really hard to be at that forefront of those conversations. Lots of the time it's an afterthought. Oh, social, how are we going to repurpose this content on the platform? And I think also lots of production teams love that really high quality, you know, videos that they produce at, you know, really long. And actually it's how you're going to engage your audience on that platform. For example, TikTok, unless it's like a paid ad, you really want that UGC content, creator content. That's what people like. That's what your audience trusts also at the end of the day. So it's really just trying to align content with what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. I think, like you said, it's like an afterthought, unfortunately, and the word cut down gets thrown around, which is sort of like disrespecting social in a way, isn't it? So like, because social nowadays is a place where you're getting the biggest distribution. You know, there's not other channels out there where you can get more distribution across. So really everything should be social first in like the lens of how it's produced, unless you are, you know, like we've discussed, not just repurposing content for the sake of it. You know, if you are creating a TV ad, just shoot it for a TV ad and allow the social team to produce something that falls in line with that campaign concepts, you know, strategy, but actually is social first, because otherwise, you know, you're going to, you know, be great in one lens, but then disappoint your audience in another way. And whilst they might still respect that it's beautifully shot, it's not going to get the distribution you want on social and that what it can provide you. And ultimately, if we're results driven businesses and brands and how we work with people, we need to, like I said, have those upfront conversations, be honest, and allow us to have budget or time and energy to be able to shoot something specifically for that.
And I think ultimately at the end of the day, if your client does give you that content and you have communicated to them that it's not going to necessarily work, but you would try your best to be able to make it work on the platform, and then you put it out there and it doesn't work, I think that's a key learning for them, that they can't do that moving forward if they do value social and they do want to put their business and their brand on a social platform. Almost use it as a test and learn strategy. Like, that's fine if you want to do that. We're going to tell you that this isn't going to work. Obviously in a really polite way.
Just be honest.
Be honest, tell them it's not going to work, and then also try and use it as a testing opportunity. Maybe you can produce some in-house content that you know will probably work a little bit better. And I know probably up front in terms of like resource, that might be, you know, a lot to do, but if it's going to prove concept of something and then you're going to be able to show that to the client, that's ultimately what you want to do and 100%. Achieve.
Sounds amazing. Well, it's short and sweet, this one. But thank you very much for everyone watching today. We'll be creating many more about social, paid, influencer and creative. So make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to, and we will see you very, very soon.